everyone, today I'll be reviewing WaterWorld starring Kevin Costner, Jeannie Triplehorn, and this movie is directed by Kevin Reynolds, and this movie just dropped on Netflix. This is not Netflix made movie. This is an old movie made by Universal. I think Netflix finally got licensed to this movie. So I once a blue moon when Netflix buy this old movie, like probably I have seen this movie. Maybe I have seen or maybe not. I don't know. But when this movie dropped like this weekend, I was like, yes, finally I can see this movie again. Because I did heard about this movie, but I wasn't sure if I have seen it or not. But after watching this movie, this review is it's not because this movie just dropped on Netflix, but this movie did came out in 1995. So I am keeping that in my mind when I'm making this review. Although so many things I did felt like, so many things are not up to date when you think about, especially the way they treat women in this movie, and also the almost like borderline child abuse they show in this movie. So I have to keep in this mind that this movie did came out in 1995. What I thought about this movie, I actually really enjoyed this movie. This movie is kind of one of those movies. Some of the things are so weird, but somehow the overall this movie works for me. I thought this movie, especially Kevin Costner as a lead in this movie, and he's kind of like muted. And this water world is the world is left of everything is water, nothing left or nothing, no dry land or nothing. Everything is underwater. All the scientists are talking about this thing. All the ice in the iceberg or the Arctic, one day they will melt and this world will washed away. Or they say like the world will be under the water. This movie basically took this idea from those scientists. They're always talking about it, how much the ices are melting every year. I hear, global warming. Anyway, this movie is a reflection of that. So what I like about this movie is Kevin Costner as a lead in this movie. Somehow he works, he's a muted human in this movie. Like he can breathe under the water. But this movie didn't explain how long he can breathe under the water. So I was a little confused about that. He can swim so well. Some of the scene in this movie, especially the scene took place under the water. They're so cool, especially the one scene when he takes Helen to show her the under the world how the world is under the water. That scene I thought it was cool, especially where it was done, especially when you think about this movie came out in 1995 and the CGI for this movie is often very good. I felt like because even I saw movies are made in 2006, CGI are not that good. So compared to that, this movie CGI looked good to me. Of course, this movie takes place in water, looks very pretty sometime, especially when they're just floating there in there. This movie's action, some of the action scenes were very intense. I really liked it. Especially the way like the ship was floating around, and some technology they show you like how he was controlling the ship, and those things were very interesting, honestly. And when I think about it, it was made in 1995. I find it even more interesting. So let's talk about this girl and the Helen character. So the Helen character in this movie, I thought this actress, she is very beautiful, honestly. She's so attractive woman. These two actors, Kevin Costner and Jeannie Triplehorn, they had amazing chemistry in this movie. So every time they're like face to face, you feel this. They have this intense chemistry. So that was cool watching them. She's so pretty. And this little girl, she was this innocent little girl. She had this tattoo on her back. It might be map for dry land, which turns out to be. I see this movie on Rotten Tomatoes sitting really low. So that means a lot of people didn't like this movie. So what I didn't like still about this movie is the villain. It's so awful. He's so awful, this villain. He's so generic like villain. He's a character. What is his motive? You want to find that land map? It's so over the top villain, I thought, for this movie. I think I didn't actually like all the villain scene in this movie. It's just so evil is not interesting at all, and I did not like it. I thought it was like, oh. Other than all the villain scene, if I minus it, overall, watching these two characters, Helen and the Kevin Costner character, they had good chemistry. Overall, the world it was showing, I found it very interesting. Especially what will happen if the world was drawn under under the water, you know what I mean? It's interesting to see. I really enjoyed this movie, but I understand many people will not. But I really did. Check it out. It's on Netflix. And that was my thought on this movie. Thank you so much for checking this out. If you enjoyed my review, don't forget to subscribe. Please take